All right, we have to have an emergency meeting. I mean, the movement and liquidity in crypto was mind-blowing. I was completely shocked. SUI went all the way down near 50 cents. An incredible drop-off. Some fared better. We're dealing, obviously, with a huge liquidation event, and I was scrambling to buy. I talked with Mike, Money Mike. We're going to start calling him Millionaire Mike soon. That's the new nickname. He said, Josh, I got 200% on SUI. It dipped again. I got another 100%. So this is a crazy situation. And, depending on your level of how well you had prepared for this, you are either crying right now. Obviously, this is a shocking, fall off. Now, I'm going to go into some charts. I'm going to give you some opinions on the SPY. I have a sense of exactly where we're going to go next and what's going to happen. And let's kick things off here by bringing on a couple honored guests. I'm very happy to have Mr. Stock up here today. Larry, let me just kick things right off. I have to get your reaction to this madness. What do you think about what happened today? You were flying back, landing.
Yes. Yeah, I literally was at TSA and ran back the other way. And I actually started buying with my community. We were doing some buying in rare earths. As soon as I saw the market drop, to be honest with you, I said, Trump must have said something. And lo and behold, boom, there we go, right? And listen, it's one of those things where we've had some dips before now. The Qs, actually the NASDAQ hit an all-time high today. And then soon as the tweet came out, it flushed, lower than it has in the last two weeks. And so now we're down 800 points on the NASDAQ, and big tech got smacked down. Any companies like Qualcomm and Apple, any company that has exposure to China is getting beat down right now. But I also see buying opportunities. If you look, this was over the rare earth deal with China, or lack of deal. If you look, there are, I believe, Josh, that there's opportunities in rare earth companies like MP and USAR. And so I think this is a time for people not to panic, but to be looking for opportunity in stocks and crypto. So that I'll leave that for my opening statement.
Well, thank you, Larry. There is opportunity, and I think all of us that have a little cash, we were in a live, I think it was on Keenan's page, and he put, not a problem, but he put me on the spot. He's like, Josh, how much cash do you have on the sideline? And truthfully, I have over 7 figures on the sideline. And so depending on how much cash you had is exactly proportionate to how excited you are to finally see some big red candles. Exactly. I've been needing to put some money to work. And so I'm welcoming this. And, we've been bullish. And part of my philosophy is to trade the trend. The trend is your friend until the end. Well, the question is whether today was the end and the beginning of a new trend. And I'm going to give you some qualifiers as to determine that. And each of us is going to say what we want to say. But Mark actually notified me that my bank account was spinning in the green when he called me. I wasn't even paying attention. I had shot the last video, put it up, and had moved on to transitioning plans for dinner this evening. And he's like, man, do you see what's happening? And I with crypto right now, and I went to I had entered in 2 shorts, okay? And, have my stop losses in. And I walked away, right? So I saw that we were going down, and one of them was up 8K and the other one was up 10K. And I'm going to tell you right now that if I had been watching them, I would have locked in profits at 800 and 1,000. But I was pleasantly surprised that the sky was falling and that they had gone heavily into the green. I immediately cashed out. And while he's giving me his opinion about Bitcoin and crypto, I was going, fill order, try to fill order on SUI. Right. I literally started watching it when it was coming back up over $1. And I just knew in my heart, I'm thinking, how quickly can I get these buy orders in? And, in one ear, Mark's telling me, this is it, bro. This is it. And I'm like trying as fast as I can to get my little stubby fingers to buy some suey at $1. Before we were even off the phone call, it was $2. It was above $2. So Mark, that's your setup. You can play the bear because you're pretty bearish, and you might be the voice of reason tonight. Okay. I'm interested in buying this dip. I have specific plans in mind. I'm going to reveal some of them. I've been waiting for a dip. The market needs healthy 6% corrections. In about every 2 videos, I've been saying, well, guys, keep in mind, we got to get a little 4 to 6 correction here, and it didn't happen. And someone got mad at me in the comments, Larry. They said, Josh, you said we'd get a correction by the end of September, and it made sense that we would. And I said, well, it doesn't mean that correction's been canceled. It just means it's probably been kicked into the first week of October.
Yep.
Well, here we go. We're clearly on our way. I think we got just under 4% already booked, and I think we're going to get some more on Monday. And I think there's going to be stocks that I'm going to be wanting to take advantage of. And I'm talking about positions that I want to hold into 2026. I'll give you one. Amazon, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you exactly where I think it's going to go and exactly where I'm going to put some money on it. Now, lawyers tell me that I cannot say how much I'm going to put down on these, but I did tell you how much I had, and I want you to know that every last penny is going to get put to work. I don't know if it's all going to be put to work on Monday, but I'm getting ready to go to work, roll up my sleeves, and do some buying. Having said that, should we be terrified? Mark, Mark, what are your thoughts on this moment? When you called me, you're like, "It's over, Josh. It's over. It's over, bro." What's up? What are your thoughts on this?
So my thoughts are, first of all, let me just comment on the SPY and the stock market, and then I'll share my thoughts on Bitcoin. First of all, I shared something on my YouTube video, a stat that the S&P 500 at the time was up 34% in the last 6 months. And this is a move that's only been seen 10 previous times in about 100 years, since 1930. And 8 out of 10 of those times, the S&P 500 ended up lower 2 weeks later with an average decline of 3.5%. What did we drop today? About minus 3%. So that actually is playing out historically as what we've seen happen in the past over 100 years of stock market history. So I was expecting that. And I'd also been sharing every day in my videos about the bearish divergence on the daily time frame on the SPY, which we saw play out today. As far as Bitcoin goes, I think that I'm leaning more now towards that the top might be in. I never speak in absolutes because, first and foremost, as we shared yesterday in the video that you and I did, Josh, my line in the sand is 101K. And the reason that it's 101K, because that's where the 50-week moving average is. And in every cycle previous, a weekly candle open and close below the 50-week moving average has confirmed the end of the bull run. So I'm not prepared to say it's definitely 100% over until that happens and we have an open weekly candle that opens and closes below the 50-week moving average. That's sitting at 101K. Historically, that's been the end for Bitcoin, and that has also been confirmation that the bull market is over. However, it's possible that it's not. It's possible that we will go on and make a new all-time high, but I do think it's less likely now after today's dump. I think we need a catalyst, some kind of a catalyst. This trade war needs to be resolved, a rate cut to bring retail back to the party, because I think there are a lot of people that got liquidated today. They don't have money to buy the dip. I think also people are concerned about the illegal wash trading that's been happening in crypto as well. And that played a big part in the liquidations that we saw today. If we went from cycle top to cycle top in the previous cycles from 2013, 2017, it was around about 1,400 days each time, give or take about 50 days. That actually puts, if we went to cycle top from 2021 to cycle top in 2025 and map those out, that puts us at October the 11th would be the end of the cycle. If we did that from Bitcoin halving to Bitcoin cycle top from previous cycles, that's been around about 500 days, give or take about 2 weeks. That would put us at October the 19th if we were to match 2021 cycle, and that would put us at October the 27th if that was a 2017 cycle. And then lastly, if we were to go from cycle low to cycle top, again, each time it's been about the same amount of days for every single cycle for all three of this data, about 1,000 days, give or take 30 days. And that puts our cycle tops at September 7th, which is already passed, of course, and October 24th. So I do lean towards that the top could be in based on that data, based on what we saw today, but I'm not confirmed to put a nail in the coffin for that until we see that loss of that 101K thousand. But I will say this, I look at the liquidation heat maps heavily because remember, there's 21 million Bitcoin supply. However, people have always been concerned about these exchanges paper trading and selling Bitcoin multiple times over.
Okay,
But
pause, Mark.
Yes.
First of all, you're always dripping with hot take and data thick. I want to slow down, and so I want to just share what Mark is getting ready to share. Back in the winter, the last winter that we had, there was a guy that went out, and at that time there was some push to audit all the exchanges. After FTX collapsed, a lot of people were saying, "How do we even know if you have, you claim to have $15 billion worth of crypto, 10 billion worth of Bitcoin, show it to us," right? And so a lot of people began to reveal what they had, and some guy went and assessed how much Bitcoin was available to be sold at any given moment based on all the exchanges' claims, and it was like 60 million Bitcoin. But of course, there's only 21 million Bitcoin, and not all of them have been mined. And so what Mark is talking about is something that all exchanges do. It's basically ledger trading. So their money is maybe over in US bonds locked up somewhere. And then they create a system where you give them your money. They add that over to the bonds that they probably are holding and getting like 5, 6, 7% on. And then they basically are just playing with money. So it's all paper trading. Nothing is really being exchanged. That's why people say not your crypto, not your money, or not your if you're not the custodian of crypto, not your keys, not your crypto. Forgive me. And so what Mark is talking about is that that these guys don't really have this kind of Bitcoin, and that this is just manipulation. Go ahead and continue, Mark.
Yeah, so people have been concerned about that, but when you think of leverage trading, and people are able to go 100x and some exchanges 150x with millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, well, suddenly if there's only 21 million Bitcoin, then they're trading with more Bitcoin than what's available.
Correct. How can they fill the order? So some guy goes in with 100,000 and he buys 100x leverage Bitcoin. They don't have it. It's not real. It's a made-up scenario. It's paper trading.
Yeah. Correct. And so what ends up happening is that as soon as there is any drop in Bitcoin, when those Bitcoin positions get liquidated, it simulates, it's the same as a spot sell on actual Bitcoin, except they're spot selling Bitcoin that don't actually exist because people are going 100x Bitcoin with Bitcoin that doesn't exist. So it starts off a cascade effect, and that's what we saw today. Now, when does the selling run out? It's when the liquidations run out and the longs run out. And you can see, I don't know if you can see my chart up there. You can see that's a liquidation level. And I can tell you there's liquidation levels all the way down to low 70Ks. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going there now or that we can't go up and make a new all-time high first. But I think it's important to be aware of, I don't think this was people panic selling their Bitcoin. I think some people panic sold their Bitcoin, but generally it's caused by these liquidation cascades. And it happens as well when too many people go short, and then you see these big moves in the price of Bitcoin. It's called a short squeeze, and all these shorts are getting liquidated, and that simulates a spot buy of Bitcoin, again, of Bitcoin that doesn't exist, and that absolutely rocket fuels the price. back up again. But at the moment, there's not a lot of shorts to be liquidated above Bitcoin. If you look at the liquidation levels there, there's not a lot. Now that can build up, of course, but the risk is more to the downside at the moment. So look, of course, yesterday I was probably leaning 70-30 that the Bitcoin top wasn't, and I'm probably now closer to 50-50, maybe 60-40. I want to see how the next 24 to 48 hours, maybe Monday, when the traditional markets open, because you've got all the ETFs. Are people going to be panic selling the Bitcoin ETFs? What's going to happen with the inflows and outflows there? I want to see what happens with the CME gap as well, because we know that plays a big when people trade. TradFi on the exchanges of Bitcoin, that shuts on Friday night at 8 o'clock and then reopens on Sunday night, and to see what kind of a gap that does bring. And that could also lead to where Bitcoin price is going to go. So I'd want to see all of those things kind of play out and then reassess the markets on Monday. But I am leaning a little bit bearish, Josh. I have to be fair there. I do think to a certain extent that retail has been liquidated a bit and scared off a bit. And I would caution out there that if people are buying dips, make sure that you have that you protect your trades. It's one thing to take a trade, but also to protect your trades and to make sure you have your stop losses set, and that you're not just catching a falling knife, that you're not just buying a dip that keeps dipping, because we all know that if we do go into a bear market, altcoins could see as much as 90% loss in value. And I think it's important that also to find a reason for buying the dip. Don't just buy it because it's lower. Have some kind of a Fibonacci or some kind of confirmed support. We talk about trading the trend. The trend is your friend until the end, and then you start a new trend. And right now the trend is down. So you can make money shorting the market on the way down. And many people have been doing that across, today. But also, if this isn't the end and does end up being a great dip to buy, then let's make sure that we don't try and catch a falling knife, and that we don't buy a dip that keeps dipping, but we buy a confirmed support. And if that support is lost, then we should have a stop loss in place to make sure that we don't get wrecked.
All right. Thank you, Mark, for that. That is a full show right there. Just everybody, they got all the data that they needed. But I'm gonna throw this idea out, and I'm gonna hit you, Larry, with this one. So
Sure.
This is what I think happened, and we'll see if I'm wrong. But this is how it strikes me. We got to the halving, and we got an all-time high way early, and it appeared that this particular bull run was on steroids. And I'm going to tell you something, and a lot of you are not going to believe what I'm about to say, but we'll just see how the future plays out. Honestly, we just had a crypto winter. Listen to me. SUI went down today and hit on the nose a 90% pullback. Mark just said, you don't want to get into these things because, in the winter when they pull back, these things will pull back 90%. We literally just, from the top of SUI to the bottom of the wick today, we went from $5.37 to 53 cents. We literally just had the winter today. Where is it going to go? It literally hit bottom and bounced. And I think that we're having a crypto cycle that is in fast forward, that is going in light speed, and we literally just completed the winter cycle. And I know that sounds totally crazy and radical, but I believe that it's up from here. We hit that 53 cents, and now we're sitting at $2.60. And so I don't think it's over. I think the market's moving very, 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 very quickly. I have a lot of commentary to give, but I want to bring my man Larry in. Larry, you just heard Mark. You've heard my take on it. What's your take, man?
Different than you two gentlemen. I respect you two gentlemen. This is an interesting conversation because all three of us think totally different. My brother, I not you, Josh, but Mark, Man, I respect your knowledge in crypto, but I totally disagree. I think we were primed for crypto until today to actually go up. Absolutely primed in every way, with the big banks now giving new price predictions, Citi, JP Morgan, and how it held over the weekend, Bitcoin and Ethereum, how the alts were holding even when Bitcoin and Ethereum dumped, how the alts were holding. We were primed for alt season to explode. And in the past, what brought crypto down was not necessarily the stock market. Didn't cause crypto winter. It was always in sovereignty within the crypto industry, right? A major broker, remember Mt. Gox and all of that. It was always a major broker that brought it down. Now, if everyone's sitting at the table, you can't tell who's sitting at the table with drawers on, right? Everybody's got jackets on. You can't tell until everybody stands up, right? Or the table lowers. Well, the table got lowered today with this market, and who's ever weak in the crypto market, it is exposed, right? And so now we're going to see, is the crypto market strong enough? Could everybody bag up what they say they could bag up? Is everything worth what they say it's worth? And if that is true, then I believe that we could have a V-shaped recovery in crypto. That's what I believe. And I believe that this was just a rug pull and a panic.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, Larry. I think it was a rug pull as well, and I think we're like fast forwarding through cycles. Let me take a minute, and I'm going to give you guys some thoughts on the SPY, and then we'll come back and get your guys' opinion. I'm going to do some. I always view my charting as very simple and basic. The key to charting and to becoming an analyst is to actually believe the charts and believe the candles, and not to put on them what you want them to reflect because of the money that you have at risk. And you're going to watch and see that my charting is very simple. And I actually said in a video, I believe yesterday with Ashley, I said, I will tell you guys how we'll know when we're beginning to get to the end of this move. It's going to show up in a couple ways. And I said, the first thing that we're going to get is a bearish engulfing candle. Well, guess what we got today? We got a completely bearish engulfing candle. And so, and I pointed out when we went back in time, I believe it was to the 2024 drop, I said, let's go back and look at when we had a top like this. After we had a bearish engulfing candle, we had another week that followed down to the downside. And after that, we actually went on to make a new high. And then we got another bearish engulfing candle. And then from there, some more red weeks. And so what I would say is that V-shaped bottoms, especially as violent as we had in April, are relatively normal. But the market rarely does it make a blow off top, V top. It rarely happens that way. And we haven't really had that. We've actually been arching and slowing down. It's more common that those types of moves are rollovers, and they typically zigzag before ultimately falling off the cliff. Let me take you guys into the SPY. I'm going to point out a couple things here. Let's see. First off, I'm going to look at the monthly chart, and I just want to point out that as far as the month goes, this is simply an inside month at this point. September was wildly bullish, and this is an inside month. So until we break the top or bottom of September, this market is still not signaling a breakdown. So this is simply an inside month. Now, where do I think we'll go? Well, right now I have 646 marked on the chart because that's the after hour level. This is just where the candle closed for the day. So we're already at 646, and that reflects a negative just under 4%, a negative 3.83%. And so the likelihood is that we're definitely going to get that 4 to 6%. Where would that put us if we got the 4 to 6%? Well, we would test right there at 5.45, 5.6, we would test the September top, or the September start date. Okay. So I'm going to just warn you guys, there's definitely more room for the markets to go down on next week. And I would expect them for sure to come down and test between 646 and 637. That's sort of the range I'm expecting. I'll be looking for some form of a bounce then. And anything slightly beneath that, if we recover, that's the full 6% correction that we've been anticipating for most of September and that we've finally gotten. Does that mean that the bull run is over? No, not at all. Let me take you into the weekly charts. I want to show you what we got as far as the engulfing candle. And when I want to throw on some moving averages here for you guys. All right. Now, one reason why I would caution everybody not to absolutely freak out is because even with this massive downturn today, we're actually still sitting on the 9. And if you're on the 9, you know, on a weekly time frame, you're not in the bear territory. Okay, you're totally not in the bear territory. And so even though it's scary and the selling was intense, and we all have to adjust our portfolios come Monday, and we had to make a lot of decisions this evening, I just want to remind you that I've been literally saying this for weeks. Now, did I tell you when it would happen? No, I guessed that it would happen in the last 2 weeks of September, and that if it didn't, well, first week of October. But what do we have here? You know, this is a market. These are weekly candles. We're moving up. We come back and test the 20. We bounce. This is a 5 or 6% correction. Here we move up higher. We come back. We bounce. We almost close beneath the 20, but we bounce again. We come back to the previous all-time high. We come back, hit the 20 a second time. This time we go on to make a brand new high. What do we do here? We come back and we test the 20. I've been making the point for since the middle of September that it's extremely normal to test the 20 regularly. Okay, every 2 to 3 months we test the 20 on a huge up move. And I've been warning us that, you know, guys, we're not testing it. Now, we still haven't tested it. Okay, so here we are just barely touching the 9. The 20 is around 635. Okay, and the likelihood that we won't get down here is pretty low. I mean, if we bounce off the 9, well then, guys, immediately prepare yourself for 690. Like if Monday things turn around and Trump starts saying, "Oh, I'm heading over to China. Me and Xi have got things worked out." Well, then we're heading to 690, no doubt. At the moment, if we don't get any catalyst news Saturday or Sunday, we've got to expect our first normal test of the 20 that we've gotten in. Instead of it, you know, we normally get these every 2 to 3 months. We haven't had one since April. So we were so overdue for a test. So I wanted to draw that out and just make a very simple point. We're entirely and 100% still in a bull market. A reasonable correction to the 20 would be a little bit more. Let me give you the exact percentage, just so we're on the same page.
And I want to comment after you finish.
Yes, sir. I'll bring it to you. Okay, that just literally gives us the 6%. That just literally gives us the 6%. And so I would be mad if we didn't get down to the 20. If we get down to the 20 and you start seeing buyers come back in, prepare for 690. Most analysts that I follow, and I'm talking about the Goldman Sachs guys and the State Street guys and the Wells Fargo guys, most of them have been, for most of 2025, predicting that we would get to 690. And this is just the first 6% correction. And so for me, until we get, and then I want to get Larry's take on this, but what really happened? You know, did Donald Trump have any kind of a deal going with China? No, he never did.
Nope.
We're getting closer to the deadline. And he decided, I'm going to be careful about what I say right now, but
just go ahead and say it, Josh. Tell the people the truth. They already know it's the truth.
You know them Trump boys. You know that a lot of people in Washington, all right, you know that they loaded up on puts before this event.
Absolutely.
You know, everybody knew that if Donald Trump came out and said, "I'm going to throw 100% tariff on China," everybody knew that would crash an overly hot market. Everybody knew
Yes,
that.
I got proof.
Yeah.
I got proof. Soon as
All
you
right,
finish,
Larry, you're
that's
up,
what
man.
I got queued up.
Larry,
So,
you're up. Come on now.
I'm listen. This is what Josh is telling you guys. Pull this one up. This is what Josh is telling you guys, right? So I got the 9. This is the Qs, but I'm on the daily, Josh. I'm just on the daily, right? You could see I got the 200-day moving average here in the red. And the last time it spiked, this vertical blue line, you know what that vertical blue line is, Josh?
Tell me about it.
Liberation Day.
Yep. That's what I
Right?
thought.
Boom. Liberation Day.
Liberate you from your money day.
Liberate us from our money day, which is the start of the tariff war. And as you can see, just like Josh said, it's been hugging the 9. But look at that. We kissed right here. We kissed the 200-day moving average. And now we have this. Look at that. What Josh is saying that is this gap could fill Monday is what Josh is saying. If you guys could see that from here to here, this could fill by Monday. I'm on the daily. Now we do know if we go to the weekly, it went way beneath. It tanked. You guys see that, right? But if you go to the daily, if this is a short term, not full on dip, if we're not going to 6%, then we could be at the bottom. And here's why I'm going to say could. So the bull run we just had, the V-shaped recovery we just had before today was the most hated, Tom Lee said, the most hated V-shaped recovery. And he was right. I agree with it because Wall Street missed it, but they were locked and loaded. And I just played on Friday where one of the analysts said that people had cash, they were locked and loaded and was ready for the next dip. And I believe that there's going to be some dip buying. Now, I agree with Josh. We could have more by Monday, but here's where it's going to get tricky, Josh. We could have a recovery, not full recovery. We could have the NASDAQ up by 200 points on Monday. And then by Tuesday or the end of day Monday, then we could continue on down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can have the healthy correction that was needed. This was needed. Now, what could save us? The Fed. The Fed could save us and say, hey, this is getting ugly. We're thinking about the next 2 doing 50 basis points on the next 2.
Yeah.
And that's enough to lift the market back up.
Please listen
V-shape.
to Larry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, guys, honestly, please listen to what Larry just said. Now, first of all, this market is hot. It's super, super hot, and AI is really ripping, right, with opportunity. And Ashley made a valid point in my video yesterday, and it's that in a neutral environment, when the market is neutral, and we were neutral today, it means there's a lot of cash on the sidelines. The fact that there's so much money in gold is a market that already was not anticipated. It wasn't a greedy market. We're not at the top of a greedy market. Yeah. We're not. The market was neutral. There's a ton of people in cash. I've got cash. Yeah. You've got a ton of people in gold. And the dollar's still weak, and the Fed's getting ready to cut. All of those conditions is exactly what would take us off our bottom. And I added to it something significant today. I know how important what I said tonight was. I just told you guys, we literally fast forwarded through a crypto winter. And we're going to find out by the end of this year if that was a true and valid statement. Now, I don't have a crystal ball. That is my opinion. Mm-hmm. I pound consistently the patience and disciplines that's needed to be successful on Wall Street, as well as the fact that you need to put some money in the market and leave it alone for generations if you want to have generational wealth. Go ahead, Larry.
Okay, so what was this about? It was about rare earth, right?
Yep.
Right? This was about rare earth, right? Josh, when we first went live 30 minutes ago, MP Materials was down in the after hours by almost 1%. Now MP Material is up by 2%. You see the after hours right there?
Yep. Wow. Yep.
Okay.
And your US ARs made us some money,
if,
Larry.
Oh, it made a ton of money, but I want you to look at this. USAR was flat when we started. It's up 11% in the after hours. Look at that.
Yep. And that's one that I've been wanting to get more of on a dip.
Yes.
Yeah.
So USAR was up and it held today, and we were buying it. Look at the after hours. It's up 11. It closed up 4.96%, but in the after hours, it's up 11.3%. Why? People are buying. They are buying. They waited. They literally waited until the after hours, and they are buying. Now, we don't know what Monday holds, but all I know is I've been buying even while you guys were talking. I'm sitting here. I moved my computer here, and I'm buying. I'm sitting here going buy, 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 buy. I bought some VUG. I bought some QQQ, which is the NASDAQ, and I bought some GRNY. I'm telling you guys right now, I just bought some. And I'm buying these. I'm buying this dip. Anything I say is not a suggestion for you to buy, hold, or sell. But I still got dry powder just in case Monday or Tuesday we dip even deeper.
Yeah, no. All right, Mark, I'm going to turn you loose again. I'm curious, how do you process what I've said regarding the you know, I think I like it when you emphasize the need to be realistic and to hedge our bullishness with the fact that Bitcoin has had an incredible run. Okay, 15,500 to roughly 127,000. Nobody can say to me that wasn't one heck of a crypto cycle. We basically almost 10x'd. Not quite, but you get my point. We moved up a lot. And so I don't think any of us could sit here and say we wanted more out of Bitcoin. I'm not saying that people won't say it, but it gave a lot this cycle. What I didn't feel that we ever had was an altcoin season, and that could bring us into a whole other speculation about, are the alts dead? I know you've got some opinions on that. I personally am more interested in seeing the ability to trade the Mag 7 with leverage on exchanges on the blockchain 24/7. And I'm amazed at how many. Now, I have always introduced you in two ways. I called you Kiwi Mo when I first brought you on the show. And I've always referred to you as a degen. A crypto degen is somebody that dives into every single detail of the crypto market, the micro caps, anything that's new. And I wanted you to be part of my community because I wanted you just to bring the stuff that not everybody is paying attention to that could become a big deal in the future. And here's one of the things that you've brought to me in our conversations is the fact that a lot of people are abandoning the crypto degens, are walking away and they're heading over to Wall Street. And I'm just curious your take on that. I know that you've been making some great successes in trading stocks. And I feel like the rose-colored glasses have come off towards crypto. Where do you stand? Am I going to have to change your name from Crypto Degen to Wall Street Kiwi Mo?
Well, first of all, for Larry, absolute giant in the space, and I really enjoy all of his content and shows. And I do think that he makes some great points, and he could well be right. Remember, my line in the sand is going to be the 50-week moving average. That's where I will roll over and say it's officially over. And so when Larry speaks, you all better listen. He makes some great points. He's got a lot of great wisdom. And then Josh, a great friend and mentor, I think made a great point, and I want to emphasize what he said and back it up here with something I was reading, that crypto liquidations soared to $9.4 billion in 24 hours. This is the largest single-day event ever, bigger than Luna, bigger than COVID, bigger than Mt. Gox, bigger than FTX. We just witnessed history. And so, Josh, you make a valid point that maybe we just saw the bear market that's meant to be a year in one day. It's quite possible. However, it also could be just a sign of weakness in the market. And if we ignore the cracks, what before there's an earthquake, there's cracks. And I don't want to ignore those cracks and those warning signs. And I do see some warning signs there. I'm not completely ready to say that Bitcoin's not going to put in another all-time high. And I would also like to add that I would like to separate Bitcoin a little bit from the altcoins. It's quite possibly that Bitcoin chugs along, but altcoins bleed out into a bear market. That's another point, a possibility as well there. But we shared yesterday a stat how in the last 30 days, in the history of the stock market, there has never been more retail money that entered the stock market than in the last 30 days. And that did really seem to me that there had been money that had left I think a lot of the crypto money had come over to the stock market, and we were seeing some kind of crypto-like gains in the stock market. We were seeing these 200% and 300% happen in certain stocks. You look at OKLO and ASTS, absolutely went up with like rocket ships. No pun intended there, a nuclear and a rocket ship company. But the correlation there is too great to ignore, that I feel a lot of the crypto space people had come across, and it was like we were having the blow off top altcoin season, but actually in the stock market. And who could blame them for coming over? I mean, you're sitting there and altcoins weren't moving, yet you could come over and buy some USAR or some AMD or some OCLO or one of those other stocks and get to 300% in just a week. And even with Robinhood, I remember buying Robinhood at $30 not so long ago and over $100. And so I think there is some merit to being cautious, that I'm optimistic. I'd like to see altcoins run as much as anybody else. I hate to see people down on their bags. But at the end of the day, I also look at some of the warning signs and the red flags that are there. And I hope I hope that they end up being false flags. And I do really hope that both you and Larry are right. I would love it for you guys to have nailed this spot on. Nothing would make me happier than that these turn out to be false flags. And this was just a flash crash liquidation hunt. And like you said, maybe we saw that crypto winter there.
Okay, let me process what you're saying a little bit. If you had to give a reason why we wouldn't continue higher, what exactly would it be? Would it be the rate cuts that are coming? Would it be the poor performance of the Mag 7? Would it be the dollar weakening? What do you think would cause, what valid bear case? And I'm actually appreciating you playing the bear today, Mark. So thank you for that. And I'm not picking on you. But what would be the reason that you would latch on to? What would be the reason you'd latch onto? You might be the only sober man in the room. What reason would you latch onto that the bears have a right to take this market over?
Well, first of all, for stocks, I'm very bullish, and I agree with 100% of what you both shared, and I'm buying the dip. For crypto, that's a great question. First and foremost, it would be the timing of the 4-year cycle has traditionally finished now between October and December, and all the previous cycles, if we were to match them up and lay them over exactly, most of those cycles would be finishing in October. So that would be number one. Now, of course, some people say the super cycle, and I am not opposed to saying that Bitcoin does continue on the super cycle. I'm not sure if a lot of the altcoins will follow. Maybe the ones with the ETFs have a better chance. Number two would be that in the last cycle, we had around 10,000 coins listed on CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap, and there was about $1.7 trillion in total at the height of the altcoin cycle in 2021 at the peak. We have about that. Well, we did. I think it's dropped to about 1.5 trillion. We did have about 1.7 trillion. However, there were a whopping 100 million tokens that are listed on CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap. 85% of that are on the Solana chain, a lot of these meme coins, of course. And so I feel that there's dilution there in the space. You've got the same amount of liquidity as the last cycle, but you have just so many more coins. And it feels like there is a new coin coming out all the time. We talked about Asta last night. I took a punt on that. I bought it at 60 cents and went up to like $2.40. I think it's back at the moment. And it just feels like people are, what do they call it, robbing Peter to pay Paul. And they're selling one bag. And we saw that, didn't we, in January when Trump coin came out. And what happened with the rest of the altcoins? They all dumped because people had to find the money to buy the Trump coin. And there was a big sell-off, and that led to a bit of a drop when the actual meme coin dropped itself. And so I think there's some validity there to look at those facts and to say, number one, okay, let's just say that Bitcoin does make a new all-time high. Great. Let's just say that we do have an alt season. I just don't think it's going to be the alt season that we've seen in the past. I think, honestly, we're seeing that in stocks at the moment. It has been incredible. And the fact that you shared that the fear and greed index on the stock market was at neutral before the drop is quite incredible. And it does mean that there is so much money on the table. And I do feel that money has come across from crypto. I do think that there is just so many altcoins there. And I'm just not sure we're going to see the kind of altcoin move that we have seen in the past. I remain optimistic, and I do hope that Bitcoin makes a new all-time high. And I do hope that the likes of Sui and Solana will make new all-time high as well. There's a lot of time between now and December, and if we have a super cycle, maybe it continues there. But those are my thoughts that I have as far as probably the bear case for the possibility that the top is in, or is going to be, is in October, that's possible. And remember, my line in the sand is 101K, which is the 50-week moving average.
I think that's fair. I'm going to go into a couple charts of interest. I want to leave everybody with some things. In my earlier video today, I talked about the fact that I'm looking for moments like this to add to my SoFi. I also have been watching some stocks that have not done well. We're definitely in the camp of underdogs. And one of them is Enphase. And, mark my words, this might be an interesting moment for Enphase because this has been in decline for a long time. And Larry, I can't wait to get your opinion on this. You and I haven't spoke about this, but I mean, the bottom line is we need every form of energy to fulfill the AI, mandate of OpenAI, and they're sucking every dollar in the world into this space. They need nuclear, they need oil, they need coal, and they need wind power. But I'm going to take you guys into the chart on Enphase just to talk about some things that are of interest to me. And then we'll see if something comes of this as far as... So back here, this is when Enphase really had a fall off of around $107. And you can see that it stayed for a very long time on the daily time frame under the zero line, right? Every single move up was really just to prepare for a bigger leg down. And, whenever you see it go sideways like this under the zero, it's basically just going to keep falling. Well, finally, we actually raised our heads above the zero line. Now, that's not the time to load up because we did come and we curled back, right? But whenever you see that initial cross on the zero line, it's sort of a comeback to life moment. Now, I've got this drawn down here. And there is the possibility of an inverse head and shoulders pattern. I also have this other line drawn here. This had operated as resistance for a long time, and then we broke above it. And now I think it's going to hit and operate as support. It aligns with the left shoulder, so we could be making the right shoulder. Now, before I continue with my technicals, guys, this is the exact thing that I found in Pepsi just 2 days ago that made us all 110%. This is the exact charting and pattern that I saw there. I said, man, that really looks like an inverse head and shoulders pattern. If we bought this tomorrow morning and this thing turns around and pops, that would be a perfect completion to the right shoulder. Now, can I guarantee that? Can I promise that? Should you make a financial decision based on that? No. And I would just say keep an eye on it. Now, some people complained when I told them to keep an eye on it, and then it ripped the following day. They said, well, you didn't tell us to buy it. And I'm not going to tell you to buy Enphase either. Let's go back to these technicals. So we got this potential inverse head and shoulders pattern on Enphase. And remember, Enphase has been in decline. And the dollar amount matters to me. And I'm going to make a point about that in a minute. But let's just look at what the potential target could be if we take my neckline. And that's assuming I've got all this right. Maybe I don't. We take the neckline down to the bottom of the head. We forecast the future breakout. And that brings us amazingly right to this spot. What had once been support, it failed. It became resistance. This was actually a huge part of the leg down. And it's potentially forecasting a return to around $54. Now, if you go back to my very first videos a long time ago, back in the day, I actually covered Enphase when it was way up here. I covered it these weeks, and I actually predicted that we would hit 340. On the day we hit 340, actually back here when it was around 300, I said, we're going to go up another $40. We're going to hit 340, and that's going to be the end. And 341 was pretty much the very top. So I called the top of Enphase. Who knows? Maybe this evening I'm calling a local bottom for it. There's room for this to go down more, but personally, you know, it's the solar has been entirely excluded from the energy party and the need for power. And I don't know that we should. Enphase is not just solar. They've got a wide variety of solutions and services. And so I think that I'm going to be watching this very carefully for some signs of life. This also looks like capitulation when it comes to this volume scenario. You see this last bar was green. This looks like the first signs of some accumulation. And that's what we're going to get is one more green bar to push us up. And that'll be a second sign of early accumulation. And my immediate target is really just to move back here to this 20 on this higher monthly time frame, which would put us somewhere around 56 to $60. Larry, you do a lot with you've done a lot with energy, right? A lot with the nuclear, and Enphase has been just a dirty dog laying in the gutter. Nobody's loved it. Nobody pet it. Everyone's ignored it. What do you think of Enphase? Any opportunity there?
Absolutely, because we are at the point, the demand for energy is so great. I don't think people really understand, Josh.
They don't
how big the demand for energy is. Remember,
we can't fulfill
Bitcoin
it.
cycle?
We cannot fulfill it.
We can't. Remember when we were at the Bitcoin conference and they had these pretty much the rear end of 18 wheelers where they were just data centers, but most of the data centers was just about creating energy. They had the racks, but it was all about the energy. How is it going to be powered? New energy sources. Remember that?
I do remember
at the,
that, Larry.
Bitcoin conference. And it is a search for energy. And Enphase, I will tell you this, it's not going to be in one sector. They need them all. They need them all. I think Enphase, I'm looking at it. You brought it to my attention. Actually, I knew about it and I just kind of glazed over it. And then you brought it to my attention again. And you could really be on to something, Josh. And then if you look at this, Josh, I'm looking at Oklo.
Yeah,
and
beautiful. No, I see what you're seeing, brother. I see what you're seeing.
You see what I'm seeing?
Yes, sir.
Look at that. Boom. So I had a line struck here, but that's exactly where we are right now. We could see here. You can clearly see what I'm looking at. I'm just on the hourly, but you can clearly see what I'm looking at. And I think we're in the first quarter of these companies, Enphase, Oklo. I think that if you're smart, Josh, I think that you would create your own alternate energy ETF. Let me say that again. If you're smart, I think you should create your own alternative energy ETF. And I would have companies like Enphase and Oklo in that ETF. Create your own ETF, make your own pile, and buy dips, but also dollar cost average, even if the market is going up.
All right. Well, I love that. And Mark, I'm going to come back to you in a moment to let you kind of share what you're thinking about your investments and going into this next week. Anything that you're that looks attractive to you, whether you're going to ride the bear train into Wall Street. But I'm going to give everybody one more play that is something I'm hoping to make a ton of money on. Again, these dialogues are not a suggestion for you to buy, sell, or hold. I'm not a financial advisor, and I might be wrong. But I have been really interested in Amazon. I think Amazon is a,
Yes.
it's a $300 play, and I've been saying it, and we'll see if I'm right. But I said Amazon's going to do exactly what Apple did. Apple, everyone's like, oh, Apple's crap. It's going to fall off the face of the earth, and I started sounding the alarm that Apple was going to have its moment, and that it was lagging, but it would catch up. And then Apple had that bad earnings, or actually the earnings, I don't know, the earnings were okay. It fell off hard, and they simply used that as a bouncing board to push it all the way back to all-time highs. And Amazon is lower. Larry, listen to this. Amazon is lower right now than it was at the beginning of 2025. And yet,
that's crazy.
Yet all they've done is increase profits. And there's people that are saying that their cloud services are not able to compete with AMD and different companies. But here's the point: that they said the same thing about Intel. They said Intel didn't deserve to participate in the AI rally. Here's a company located in America making chips, and they're like, nah, they suck. No, Intel was always going to pop and rip. And they said the same thing about AMD, right? That it wasn't able to compete with NVIDIA. Then the CEO came out and said they're totally in a different lane. And there's a massive 28-lane highway going over to AI. Now, I'm going to suggest to you that Amazon absolutely is an extremely relevant, important company. They've got a moat. Nobody will fill it unless the government begins to turn against them. And I keep seeing the CEO hanging out in Washington. It seems like they're doing okay. So Amazon is my favorite pick. I give picks for October. We just ran PayPal up, and PayPal had an incredible run. But obviously it's been smacked down with everything else. You've got to take some profits. But this isn't a pick for, and I gave Amazon as a potential pick for October. And I told everybody, I said, we've got to watch and see if it closes this week's candle above 224. Well, let's go look at that chart. So I would say that hopefully you took some profits, because we literally ran it up from around 216 to 219. We ran it up to 228. And I told everybody, we got to see what happens there. And I said, we have to hold the week above 224. Well, obviously this is where I locked in my profits. Now we've come down. And to be honest with you, I don't care. Like, in my view, this is absolutely going to be up here at 260. Now, it's my opinion. Now, where am I looking at getting more aggressive, right? Well, it's pretty much right in this zone. Well, I'll tell you, 213 is where I'm going to buy pretty decently heavy. And sometimes things dip a little bit lower than they should. I'm going to make an allowance to do some final stage buying if we were to hit 210, okay? I want to point out to you, we have this megaphone pattern, which communicates indecision on a pullback. And these megaphone patterns often turn into diamond patterns, which go on to break to the upside. Personally, I think this is what's going to happen. Matter of fact, if you save this video and you go back and look, what I drew on your chart is probably the future of Amazon. So you guys have been all put on notice that if this thing gets down to 213, just understand that Joshua's got his stubby little fingers and he's hitting buy, buy, buy. I'm going to leave a little bit of money on the sidelines in case it gets down to 210. And here's one of the other reasons why I believe it could hit 210, because getting below the bottom of 211.62, getting slightly below 211.62 would trigger a ton of panic selling, and it would trigger a bunch of people's stop losses. And so it wouldn't shock me if they try to drive it down right there to clear out some stop losses. But that is the big turnaround story. The next target by the end of the year, 250, 260. And I'm not going to tell you how much I'm going to put into it, But if some of you've been paying attention to some of the details that I float around, 10-20% of my cash might go into this trade, and which I like it. Larry, I'm gonna and listen, I don't always repeat everything I say. Sometimes if you show up for a live, you get something solid. I'm always on a new stock almost every single day. And so I don't know how much of this people will hear in the future. This is your Amazon deep dive from me this evening. Larry, what are your thoughts on Amazon? And then Mark, I'd love your thoughts on Amazon. And then you get to close out the show, brother.
I have been long on Amazon for a while, and I'm long on Amazon, and I agree with everything you said about Amazon. I think Amazon has just been a sleeping giant, but now I'm also adding some AMD in there also. I'm adding some AMD to that also now. I believe that AMD is going to either up their contract with OpenAI or have another deal like OpenAI. And he did say, Jensen Huang said it's a different company. And Keenan brought that up the other day. And when he did that, it's not all or one, right? It's not that you got to have NVIDIA or AMD. And I just think that Amazon and AMD are two blue chip companies that you just want to hold for a while right now. But I've been bullish on Amazon, and they really haven't even tapped into AI, but they're working on it, and they put a lot of money behind it. But we haven't seen the fruits of that labor yet, but it's coming.
I completely agree. And it'll be falling, getting close to that level, and then some news event is going to come out, and that's going to be, it's going to flip the switch. Mark, first of all, I appreciate you, brother. You drop so many gems. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on Amazon or any other play that you like, and what are you going to be buying or looking at seriously over the next week?
Yeah, thanks, Josh. Look, I'm surprised that Amazon hasn't done better, number one. It's a struggle to park money into Amazon and see it give it bank-like returns, though. And then today, when we just thought Amazon was moving and we had a breakout, we got that lovely tweet and it dropped it back down again there. So, but I do think it's going to have a moment and a time. I was in an Amazon trade, and so I got out of that trade, and I'll look to re-enter when the technicals make sense there. But they had the new pharmaceuticals now where you go and see the doctor, and now there's going to be a kiosk there, and you don't have to run off to Rite Aid or CVS to get your prescriptions filled. It'll be right there, and so I think they're continuing to innovate. I'm just not sure the value has caught up yet. I think they're undervalued, and I think there's a potential there for a trade. And as this market rebounds, I'll be looking to get back into that trade. I've been looking, I played the ASTS, and as you know, Josh, I've been playing the ETFs a lot. I love them. I can trade them in the pre-market at 4 a.m., get up. Usually a lot of them are cashed out by the time the market opens. I can trade them in the extended hours, and they give me 2x the gains on the regular stocks. And, I have my long-term holdings that I can continue to add and grow. But I love these ETFs that can just jump. And that's where I got the OKL, the OKLO trade, which Larry mentioned. I actually traded the OKLL, which is the 2X leverage ETF. I got on that at 35. That went up to about 105. So I'll be looking at getting back into that trade. ASTX, ASTS actually, but the 2X leverage ETF ASTX, I just bought a little bit there. I noticed Larry was probably putting in a bunch of buys just before it hit 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'm sure that's what my man was doing there, no doubt. And I just got a little bit of a quick buy in there, hopeful that the market on Monday, I got in at 66 there. On that one, again, that's the 2X leverage ETFs. But I, like Larry, am looking at these alternate energy nuclear stocks. There's NNE, there's SMR, OKLO, which Larry has mentioned. And also from the energy side of things, there's, the VV, help me here, VST. VST,
Oh,
Vistra, and I've
VST.
been trading the
Yeah.
VSTL, which is the 2x leverage play, and also
Yeah.
one that has done really, really well. You check out this chart when you get a chance, Josh. EOSE, Energy Enterprise. That's had a great run up, and I've been able to ride that one up. That hasn't got an ETF, so I just had to buy the regular stock there. So those are the ones that I have mostly been focused on there and have made some great gains. And of course, SoFi was doing great, and I cashed out just in time there. I traded both SoFi. I have SoFi in one portfolio, and then I have SOFX, which is the 2x leverage ETF, and that gave me some incredible gains. And I protected that trade and locked in those profits, and then the market dropped down, and so I'll be buying that one on the dip.
So what does EOS Energy focus on specifically?
I used to
They
have
focus on
that
the alternate energy, and they
alternative
have
energy.
alternative energy sources. And of course,
Yeah.
Trump tweeted about how there's a problem with the electricity and energy there. And I think a lot of those kind of stocks, like VST, is another one as well, benefited from. People are starting to try and guess which companies the US government's going to invest in next. And every word that he says that leads to possibly investment there, people are beginning to take notice of that. And we saw that with BBAI getting a government contract there. I don't think it was a direct investment from the US government there, but the play that you gave, Josh, there on that BBI, boy, that really shot up today as well. And that was one of my biggest winners, Josh, that I got there on that trade. And again, I was lucky enough to cash that out. And of course, you can get the BAIG, which is the 2x leverage ETF play, and you can 2x your gains on that one as well. So that's been really good.
Or you can get the BBAIW, which are
I
the
love it. I love it.
warrants, which
We got these
absolutely cooked.
Yes, yes, sir. I'm going to say this about BBAI, that I'm too afraid to sell it. And that's been a new phrase you've heard from me. Certain stocks I don't want to let go of anymore. And BBAI is one of them.
Mhm.
And I sometimes drop these narratives. BBAI is not the next Palantir, but there's something about it that feels a little bit Palantir-like, and I think it's what it does. It's a relationship
True.
to the government, and
Yes.
just like Marcus said, that the government, they control that huge, massive pot of money, and as you guys know, they're not afraid to print more and spend all of yours. So if they start tilting that bucket, if they start tilting that bucket around, BBAI, I think, is going to get a splash of your cash. So just be mindful. Let me show you that chart. Yeah. And BBAI, this little pullback is nothing, but guys, matter of fact, let me just show you this chart. So I teach these things, I use these phrases, and, I've been getting some great praise reports from people about how it's all starting to come together. The IPO price on any stock is always going to be a significant point of control. And, this thing went down into the gutter, got forsaken. It consolidated sideways where everybody forgot about it at $2. And even though it's $7.20, you can see it's slowly stair-stepping its way up, right? This is a triangle breakout pattern. We look at this level and we get up between, all we got to do is climb up here. I got logarithmic on. Let me turn that off, right? Just so I can show you what a projected move might be. Let's see here. Even if we take this move right here as a cup and handle, that puts us very, very close back to, it puts us at $14. Okay. If we were to take if we were to treat this like the handle and treat this like the cup, that puts us above the all-time high at $16 and runs us up to $18. Now, I don't want to confuse people. What I just want to tell you is that this chart and what the government can do and the company and the positioning that it has, I'm expecting more upside. And this is a sleeping, there's an opportunity here, and we're getting very close to this point of control, that IPO price that really wakes up a lot of investors when it gets back above. And so I don't want you guys to sleep on BBAI. This is one that I don't want to sell. I don't want to sell right now.
That, Josh?
Yes, sir.
If it does go up, if BBAI does go up, guys, I want you to consider. All right, man, you really can't see that. Let's see what happened.
You're going to tell us about the warrants.
Oh, you better believe I'm about to tell you about the warrants.
Tell me about the warrants, sir.
So you know what? Let me try the Google. It's so you can't even see it. It's so they won't be able to see it. It's kind of choppy.
Okay. It's a little. Just tell us about it, brother. I can see it, but tell us about it.
So right now, BBAI is at $7.23, right? The warrants are at $2.25. If there is a true reversal and BBAI start to go up, I want you to play with at least 25% of the money that you would put in BBAI and put it in the warrants. The warrants will literally move up 2x compared to the stock, okay, at this price. This is, Josh, as being the warrant king, I will tell you that this is the perfect setup. This is the perfect setup. I'll prove it to you. When it goes down,
I believe you.
Look at how much the warrants go down, right?
Yep.
So it went down 4%. The warrants went down 16%. Now, on the way down, it's horrible. But on the way up, it does the opposite. You see that? So in the last month, let me even go back to the last 6 months. Look at that. On the way up, the stock went up 154%, but the warrants are up 212%. Right now, we're in that sweet spot where if there is a reversal, you will make bank on the warrants. And look at the spread. The warrants are trailing the stock by way more than 60%. Remember, that's my rule of thumb. And so there is bank to be made. If BBA starts moving up, me personally, what Larry do, anything I say is not a suggestion for you to buy, hold, or sell. I actually, when I see a setup like this, I buy twice as much of the warrants as I do the stock. I run the warrants up 100, 200, 300%, and then I sell the warrants and I hold the stock.
That's really good advice. And Larry, I'm going to get some of them warrants. As a matter of fact, I'm going to come back and show you guys real quick just the spot that I would really like it to come back, right? But I have to read this comment, and I've got 2 comments for you guys. P. Morton says, please don't buy Enphase. I wouldn't even feel comfortable selling my shares to anyone. Oh my gosh, that's not... Now, I'm going to tell you guys what I just read. This is why I like it, because of the despair. This is when you want to look at something, is when the despair is so thick that somebody tells you, I wouldn't even feel comfortable. And now I'm going to read the second comment, which I find just as entertaining. Road Trip says, so many I told you so's. Now, Road Trip, the reason why you get so many is I'm trying to underline the things that I have strong conviction about. And even though I just told P. Morton he should get excited about Enphase, he doesn't believe me. That's why I'm trying to emphasize to him that we follow the charts, and the charts are saying something. And so the I told you so's are meant to try to be as clear as I can. Let me give you guys one more comment on this. We don't know whether this is going to go up or down, right? We did hit a little wall of resistance right here. I would love this. Right around $5.50. So if it came down to $5.50, Larry, I'm gonna do exactly as you said. Whatever amount of money that I buy on the stock, I'm gonna get more of that on the warrants. And so, I don't want anybody coming in and they buy this tomorrow at $7.25 and then they panic sell it at $5.50 when Josh is buying it. My view is that this company is going to continue to do well. The AI bubble is nowhere near over. I think that we will hit the IPO price, which is $10. And so anything in this range is attractive to me. And I'm going to do what Larry said. I'm going I'm going to get some of them warrants, especially on a pullback if we get it. Thank you guys for being my guests. I loved the show. And Mark, thank you. Guys, Mark's got his own YouTube page, and he is a full-time trader and a full-time financial teacher. And you can go find him on Tribal Trades. He's also in the Stocks with Josh Discord. You can come and join there, and you can communicate and talk to him. He's always in there answering questions. He is a servant, and he's a brilliant chart analyst. If anything, I'm trying to get him to share it like you're talking to a third grader, because he doesn't realize that he's dropping.
He don't know how smart he is.
He don't realize how smart he is, but we love him to pieces. Thank you,
I
Larry.
appreciate that.
Thank you, Mark.
So
thank you all for watching,
Thanks for
and appreciate you guys getting the likes to 1,000. That was good, but there were 3,000 people watching. So 2/3 of you, come on now, throw in the like before you head out. Love you all. Peace and blessings.
Okay,
yes.
go ahead.
Yes. No. Go ahead, Larry. I want it.
Throw a bone in there. No, I was just saying. And when you get through subscribing to Mark, come on over to Stock with Larry.
No. I'm in the wrong.
He's a poor dog that
I'm in the wrong
wag
here.
his own tail.
No. Listen, you guys wouldn't even be seeing me on YouTube unless if some of you don't even realize that Larry is he made me do this. He made me. He's like, Josh, come over to my office. It's like, what are we going to do? He's like, we're going to look at some charts. He would have me come over, sit next to him, and hit the record button. And he'd like, just do your thing, Josh. Do your thing. Right. And, it's a little terrifying to get out here and talk to people, and you don't know how you're going to be judged. I thought I had to lose 10 pounds, the whole thing. Right. Larry is the reason Larry gets a lot of credit. So please, yes, go over to Stock Up with Larry Jones. And matter of fact, the link to his class, Stock Up University, is always in the description of my video. And personally, if you're thinking, Josh, I didn't understand a thing Mark said, and you were going too fast with your scribbles, honestly, Larry's got the easiest talk to me like I'm a third grader layout for folks who are trying to begin to put the initial bricks of understanding their journey of Wall Street. So definitely check him out. I have people come to me like, hey, Josh, would you teach me? And I say, no. I literally say, no, you're not ready for me. You need to start with Larry and his course, because he will walk you through creating your account. He'll walk you through funding your account. He'll break down crypto for you. So yes, please check out Stock Up University. That link is in the description of the video.
You guys.
Love you all.
Hey, Josh, I got one more thing that I just want to emphasize here. Something that Larry said, and I don't know if everybody heard it. And when I listen to people like Larry, who's just an absolute legend in the space, I listen for those gems, those little comments that are made, and I catch them, and I'm like, yeah, that's it. That you could watch this whole show, and if you just got this one comment from Larry, you'd be wealthy. What he said was that he bought BBAI, and he bought double amount on the warrants. He keeps the BBAI, okay? And then he cashes in and takes profit on the warrants. That's a game changer right there. And I do something similar. Except I buy the ETFs, the BBAI ETF, and I usually buy about double or triple of it. And I trade that, and I make the profit on that, and then you can keep the stock and allow it to grow. And one of the great reasons this is an incredible piece of wisdom is when you're up on a trade, and if you only have that one position, you're going to be stuck with those two buttons. Take profit or hold and maybe lose the profit. You see that guy sweating, looking to push those two red buttons there. The way that Larry has presented it so simply is that you can take profit, and then if the trade continues to run, you're still holding the stock, and you can still cash in and let that run. So I didn't want to let this show end without just highlighting the incredible wisdom of this man and that gem that he dropped there today. Absolutely incredible. And that's why he's so successful. And that's why he has.
No, Mark's right.
How do you spell your name?
Mark's right. That's a game changer.
Spell your name. I'm writing a check right now.
David D, who has given a number of super chats, I appreciate you. Said, can you please chart MicroStrategies? Stay tuned. In the next couple of days, I will do that MicroStrategies for you. And the reason is, one, I appreciate you asking, but two, the chart looks interesting to me right now, and I do have some opinions on it. Thank you, gentlemen, both again. I love you both. Talk to you later.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.